warning for manga spoilers. Meanwhile, in the forest, Margarette and her subordinates are riding on their brooms. She questions how she could let the incident of Abel's defeat against Mash pass. As they fly, swords suddenly appear, targeting them. They manage to dodge and land safely. Upon landing, Margarette asks Rayne if he is protecting Mash. Rayne replies that he just happened to be there when he heard an ugly laugh. In response, Margarette just smiled. While all this is happening, Mash and his friends continue to enjoy themselves at his house. The story delves into Margarette Macaron's past. Several years ago, a competition was held among middle school students to discover talented magic users aged 13 to 15. In this competition, only one magic user succeeded alone against all other participants. Due to her overwhelming dominance, there were doubts about her victory. An investigation revealed a rule violation. The participant had lied about her age. She was only 9 years old at the time, and her name was Margarette Macaron, who would later become the future prefect of Orchidorm. The story returns to the confrontation between Margarette and Rayne. Margarette has ambitious plans, not only to fight Mash, but also to challenge one of the school's divine visionaries. She flicks her hand, and a grand piano appears, which she begins to play. She casts the spell, Powerless Winter, and then a moment of silence follows. Rayne is left wondering if something should have happened. Margarette explains that not all powerful magic users aspire to become divine visionaries, as it's just a title. She only seeks pure strength, while Rayne aspires to the position. She wonders who among them would be stronger. Soon after, the two prepare and exchange their own magic. The clash of their powerful magics causes an explosion. Meanwhile, the hero of the story, Mash, is playing board games with his friends at his house. As they play, the board game seems to reveal their personal problems. Dot's problem is being overly cautious. Lemon's is love issues. Lance notices that the board games seem to predict their future, and when he tries it, his piece lands on a square indicating that his little sister brings home a boyfriend. This revelation is so shocking to Lance that he is flung onto Mash's wall. Finn also tries the board game, and his turn seems normal. However, when Mash tries, his piece lands on a square stating that it's discovered he can't use magic, so it's game over for him. Mash is shocked by this outcome. Everyone stares at the board game, and Dot starts laughing, trying to hide the pain he feels. Lemon was getting annoyed with the game, and Lance remains quiet. Lemon and Dot begin to argue while Finn stays silent, lost in thought. Finn remembers his brother Rayne's words about how such days will continue. Rayne had said that words only have meaning when paired with actions. If one can't act, it's the same as not voicing what one feels. Reflecting on this, Finn decides to help his friends move forward. The scene then shifts back to the fight between the two prefects. Margarette uses her magic to create shivering sounds against Rayne. She also employs howling sounds, and suddenly, musical notes appear around Rayne. These notes gradually multiply until he is completely surrounded by them. Margarette warns Rayne that he shouldn't attack because the musical notes surrounding him would explode in response to his casting. She then questions Rayne about why people crave stimulation from art, love, sports, drinking, drugs, and gambling, even though none of these are necessary for a normal life. She posits that the answer is simple because boredom signifies death. Margarette believes that living is about seeking excitement, but she finds Rayne too easygoing and uninteresting, and he often interferes with other people's problems. To her, Rayne is boring and cannot fulfill what she desires. She suggests that he should just be kind and step aside, as she wants to see Mash. Rayne responds by describing Mash as brave and shameless. He recounts how Mash is brave enough to want to change the world's perspective. This statement creates a strange pressure in the area, and Margarette notices a shift in Rayne's mood. Meanwhile, back at Easton Academy, Neri Sean is explaining to Wahlberg about Margarette's fame, comparing her to Rayne. Both are widely recognized, but the key difference is that Margarette does not aspire to become a divine visionary, despite having the skills for it. Rayne, on the other hand, is determined not to go home without accomplishing something significant there. Wahlberg shares that despite Rayne's demeanor, he always manages to help others. Then Wahlberg inquires Neri's knowledge about marks. Neri believes that the number of lines increases in accordance with one's absolute magic power, which Wahlberg confirms as correct. He explains that Easton is a historic school dating back several centuries, where many double-liners have been seen, but very few triple-liners. Meanwhile, Margarette is in absolute shock, facing Rayne. On the other side, Wahlberg continues, if 2 lines represent the recognition of a person's talent by magic, then those with 3 lines are seen as chosen by God. Out there, Margarette tears up with joy, uttering, "the summer bliss." Wahlberg then reveals that the youngest person to get 3 lines was Rayne. Facing Margarette, Rayne is shown to grow the third line. He then promises to ensure that Mash, the brazen boy, would be helped to move forward as far as he could. In the next scene, the focus returns to the board game with Mash and his friends. It's Mash's turn, and he has to go back to the space he had previously landed on. This leaves Mash flabbergasted again. Dot comments that it's the second time Mash has landed on that square, and Lemon cheers him on, while Lance notes that Mash can't seem to get past it. Finn is surprised to learn there are game overs in the game. Feeling the need for a break, Mash decides to step outside, leaving Dot and the others concerned about him. Dot suspects that Mash is acting okay, but feels hurt inside, and Finn agrees, believing that Mash is innocent in all of this. Lemon adds that if she were Mash, she might blame society for her troubles. They all wonder if Mash is truly okay. Meanwhile, Mash is shown running fast, eventually stopping in a secluded spot. Believing he's alone, he takes out a giant cream puff, intending to enjoy it by himself. However, he hears something nearby, interrupting his moment. The scene then switches back to the standoff between Rayne and Margarette. Margarette thinks to herself that it's a godsend to see someone her age reach triple line status, and she is so very blessed to witness it. She analyzes that her howling sounds will create a chain explosion in response to chanting, and although Rayne is a triple liner, he still needs to chant to use magic. She believes she has cornered him, having surrounded him with her magic. Rayne suddenly asks Margarette if Orter has put her up to this, noting that Margarette usually isn't interested in school affairs. He suspects Orter might have informed her. Margarette plays dumb and asks what Rayne is referring to. While this conversation is happening, Mash arrives and overhears Rayne explaining to Margarette about Mash's inability to use magic. Rayne reflects on the sadness of losing the right to use magic and the natural envy, regret, and anger towards society that might come with such a reality. However, he proudly states that Mash is different, as he challenges his own fate instead of succumbing to these feelings. Margarette and Mash then lock eyes with each other. Rayne's speech, highlighting Mash's defiance of his fate, contrasts sharply with Margarette's underhanded tactics. She dismisses Rayne's words as cute but unimportant to her. In the minds of Margarette's companions, she remains confident and composed, despite facing a triple-liner divine visionary like Rayne. Margarette's approach to her role as a prefect is also revealed. Although she is not arrogant and distributes her coins throughout the dorm, indicating her disinterest in becoming a divine visionary, she still manages to collect 10 gold coins from the upperclassmen, the highest amount last year. Meanwhile, Margarette elaborates on her strategy, explaining that her howling sounds will trigger everything if Rayne attempts to chant a counterspell. This puts Rayne at a disadvantage, as the battle isn't just about the quantity of magic power one can produce, but also about skills and techniques, in which Margarette excels. In a moment of reflection, Margarette closes her eyes and imagines herself in a theater full of cheering people. She then conducts, and her two companions begin to play. She casts the sounds orchestra towards Rayne, forcing him to cast a spell in response. The scene shifts to Neri, who asks about the distinction between triple liners and double liners. Wahlberg explains that 3 lines signify someone chosen by the gods. These individuals can unleash more robust power than a double liner, but there's more to it. They can also awaken the true form of their wand. This revelation leaves Nere puzzled, suggesting that there's a deeper level of understanding and ability associated with being a triple liner. Wahlberg adds that magic is often referred to as the blessing of the gods. This statement transitions the scene back to Rayne, who is now in the midst of his confrontation with Margarette. In a swift motion, Rayne casts a powerful deflector shield, effectively repelling Margarette's attacks. Margarette is taken aback, astonished by the strength of the magical energy Rayne is releasing. Rayne then manifests an extraordinary ability, transforming his wand into a spear. Meanwhile, Wahlberg explains that triple liners have the unique capability to invoke the power of a god from their wand. This transformation is vividly illustrated as Rayne undergoes a brutal change, now wielding a spear instead of his wand. Margarette is stunned to witness Rayne's transformation, realizing that his wand has become the Sword Cane, the divine visionary of war. In a decisive move, Rayne declares checkmate and attacks with his spear, casting the black partisan towards Margarette. Margarette is stunned to witness this kind of black magic. Margarette quickly casts a spell called Sound Shield to block Rayne's attack. Right after that, she grabs her team and they all retreat. Mash comes out from behind some bushes and thanks Rayne for his help. Rayne tells Mash he doesn't need to thank him and encourages him to do well in the upcoming selection exam. After the retreat, it's clear that Margarette has been hurt from Rayne's attack. Her hand is covered in blood. One of her team members feels bad and says sorry, thinking that if they weren't there, Margarette could have won. But Margarette tells them it's okay. She says she likes to save her best moves for later, and that was the Rayne Ames versus Margarette Macaron full battle explained. Now this battle was short but sweet in my opinion, as we got to see a new side of Rayne, and we also got to see a bit of Margarette's powers and abilities, which I'm sure we will get to see soon again. Which means that there's still a lot more coming in this arc, and I'm certain that you don't want to miss it. So please be sure to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I will drop more Mashle videos for you guys. Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and bye.